We got the truth behind Kent Hughes' controversial statements earlier as it reveals a little bit more into what goes on behind the scenes with Montreal and what he could mean with the Monahan, the defense, and the goalie chatter. We gotta break that down again. Plus, the Habs beat one of the best teams in the league in the Colorado Avalanche by a goal from Slafkovsky, 2 points from Caufield. So many amazing things to talk about, all on this episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, let's just get right into the game. That was fun. That was so fun. I mean, we know the Habs love to play up to their opponent's level, and we were hoping they could do that against the Avalanche after bringing the Oilers to overtime. We're really hoping for another strong game and not a dud. Of course, I went to the Colorado game in Montreal last year. It was not as fun as this one, I'll give that to you. But before we get into the breakdown, we got to talk a bit about Sportsnet before the show, and something that they said, which I think is borderline unforgivable. So we got some quotes here. Habs on Reddit obviously did a great summary. But in the pregame panel, some quotes. What about moving Juraj Slafkovsky down the lineup to the fourth line? We'll wait and see where he gets shuffled into the lineup tonight. As they say, Juraj has been on the Habs first line for, I think it's been over a month, and I think it's been since December 4th or something. Do a single one of these dudes ever watch a Habs game? Sportsnet digging into Slafkovsky because of the big hits he's taken, suggesting he needs to either play in Laval or on the fourth line. Said, we'll see where he gets shuffled into the lineup tonight. Jesse, it felt like they were just taking stuff out of January of last year or something. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. I'm just going to I'm not going to say this is why. Just going to say that Matthew Nyes, the Leafs prospect that a lot of people are comparing to Slafkovsky, has been moved down to the fourth line. Just going to say that. Nothing else. But yeah, it just seems like some uneducated stuff. I'm not going to say Sportsnet's garbage. You guys can form your own opinions about that, but I just felt like it was quite unprofessional, especially for a guy who's been on the first power play, been on the first line since, I think, early mid-December, and a guy who has excelled in that position.
And playing so well, right, while he's there. And what's so funny about like these comments is not only saying it pregame, but they kind of double down on it after he scores super early on the game on a really beautiful play, right? So just a little bit curious sometimes why it's like even when they're giving like what would seem like positive comments about the Habs, it always has to come in like some sort of begrudging sort of fashion and everything else like that. So happy that we have this platform to really give the Habs the love they deserve, right? It's okay for different people like different teams, right? But it doesn't mean we need to take away from the Habs or any other Canadian team in order to do that and everything else like that. So we're definitely here to give all the love to the Habs because I think they definitely deserved it tonight.
100%. What a game. I'm going to flash up the box score. Feel free to pause as always. But look at these goal scorers. I mean, Caufield with just a beautiful, beautiful shot on that power play. Slafkovsky with a goal in the first period. Like, such an amazing slick pass from Suzuki across, and Slaf buries his own rebound. We had a goal from Yoel Armia at the end, diving to save, well, not even to save the game, to put the Habs up a goal late in the third period, diving onto his stomach, and even RHP with his first of the season, a little break-in on his own, another rebound goal. The perseverance from the Habs tonight, Jesse. I know the Colorado Avalanche still put up a lot of shots, and shout out to Jake Allen for making some huge saves, especially down the stretch, to keep the Habs in this game, upping his trade value, back up above 900 save percentage, well above. But yeah, just an amazing game. I felt like there were basically no weaknesses tonight. I mean, like, maybe a couple of advised penalties, but like, even then, not even. I was so thrilled with everything, especially the power play.
Thrilled. I had fun. I thoroughly enjoyed myself tonight. Cole Caufield is back. You know that when he shoots the puck with confidence, it's just going to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been seeing over the last couple games now. Actually, a couple pretty positive signs over the last couple games, even though it's not always been transferring to the W, but some big things, getting shots on net, which is huge, right? You got to shoot to win. You got to shoot to score. Slaf is shooting. The team is scoring, right? So obviously him getting off to a great start, kind of tucking in those rebounds. Obviously Cole Caufield had that snipe tonight, but like so many of our goals tonight, whether it was RHP, whether it was Armia, going to the ice, tucking in his own rebound. Juraj Slafkovsky, was all about getting those rebounds in close, right? Kind of really sticking to it, not giving up on this play, which I think has been so emblematic of this team just all year long. Now, our 25th game where it's one goal, the most in the entire NHL. Now, for this Montreal Canadiens team to be so young, to be so inexperienced, to be so injured, and to have so many one-goal games, to be so competitive, really says a lot about this team going forward.
Yeah, it's an attribute that you don't often see from a team this young. I mean, we saw obviously a lot of bad games last year, but I think last season really helped mature a lot of these guys. Maybe if it's not as evident when you're just watching specific plays, but over the course of this season, it's been really evident. Like, they don't panic when they get down. They don't panic and start to give away games when they're up as much. It has happened, of course, this season. Still will happen. But the amount of games where they've just kept it close, and the amount of games where they've really played to the level of the opposing team, getting hyped for the right games. Yes, the big thing we want them to do is to start beating down on the lesser competition, right? These games against the Sharks, you can't be losing those if you want to be a true playoff team. But the fact that they can get a win against Colorado after coming off an overtime game against McDavid and the Oilers, it's just phenomenal. Marty St. Louis is doing an amazing job of coaching. Kent Hughes has clearly assembled a great team, and as he said, there's going to be a lot of great modifications going forward. Slav scores a goal, 8 points, 3 goals, 5 assists in his last 12 games for Juraj Slafkovsky. It's quite good, 0.67 points per game. That's something like a 55 point pace. Quite good from Slav. All in all, fantastic game. Really happy with it. But we got some other stuff to talk about, Jesse. I kind of mentioned this earlier in the video, and if you haven't watched that video, I highly suggest you go watch it before you watch this. But we got to talk a bit about the truth behind Kent Hughes' statements earlier today. But before we do, if you're enjoying up to this point in the video and you haven't hit subscribe, and you're part of the 53% of people that aren't subscribed to the channel, really recommend you do it, because we make videos every single day. We're on the road to 15,000 subs, and we'd love if you joined us. But we're going to go back into these Kent Hughes comments, Jesse. Of course, he said it was his decision to keep 3 goalies. I spoke more in detail on this earlier. Again, go watch that video if you haven't already. He also said that there's no urgency to make a trade for one of their left-handed defensemen despite the logjam. He said if there's a good offer, they'll evaluate it. But maybe most importantly, Sean Monahan, he kind of refuted the Darren Dreger claims, saying like, oh no, there's a handshake agreement that Monahan's going to go to whatever team he wants. Hughes is like, nah, like, don't even put it out of the question that we might re-sign him. I think the big truth behind all this, Jesse, is that, first of all, Kent Hughes is not just going to, clearly, first off, he's not going out there and leaking all this stuff to the press. That seems to be a take from Darren Dreger. Might prove to be true. It could prove to be completely wrong. Kent Hughes keeps a tight lip. But also, he's not going to go out there saying, oh, I'm going to trade this player and that player and that player. He's not going to come out in this press conference and say that. And that's why he said maybe there's no urgency to trade a left-hand D or a goalie. He's not just the fans that he has to respond to. It's the ownership. It's the players themselves and their families. And also, he loses leverage if he says they're going to move him. I feel like the reactions today, Jesse, were maybe a bit out there, understandably, because it's Kent Hughes in this press conference. I just thought he said a lot of great things today.
For sure, there's a lot of expectations from these Habs fans, and a lot of the big questions were coming up is, Kent, what are we going to do to help the offense of this team? And some Habs fans were, maybe kind of, feeling upset because, Kent was kind of giving the response back, the Patrice Bergeron and everything else like that. But don't worry about Kent. He has a full plan because he's saying what he's going to do, but just he's not putting all his cards on the table. The plan is very well for him to just kind of balance the books, as he's mentioning, kind of get us to a good place cap-wise. Of course, that's going up. He did mention free agency as definitely being an option for the future. He mentioned, the need for possibly a top 6 player for the future, right? So I absolutely feel that Kent is going to go this route in the future, right? But he's just not, it does him no benefit to really say exactly what we're going to do, right? Of course, if a good trade comes along, it's just about being patient, right? And really waiting till those right deals, not feeling like you have to be pressured to make these type of moves. He did mention, of course, waivers being a factor, but other than that, he's going to wait till the right thing comes along, while it always being for the long term. But of course, Kent, being the gamesman he is, he's going to keep his cards close to his chest.
Keeping him close to his chest, not moving too quickly on a deal. That is basically the truth behind his stuff. And I know earlier I was a little critical of those Boston Bruins comments, and I still don't necessarily fully agree with the sentiment behind them, but at the same time, again, like you said, Jesse, he's not there to reveal his full plan. He's not there to tell the world what he's about to do, because that not only hurts his team, it hurts the players. It hurts, again, it hurts a lot of people around if he's just out there saying, well, listen, I'm planning to trade Jordan Harris for a good pick. And even mentioned the Cutter Gauthier for Jamie Drysdale trade. He said, yeah, we could do something like that. But he said, even then, it's not as simple as you guys might think it is to just trade a defender for a need. It might be a defenseman for a draft pick, and that draft pick for more draft picks, and those draft picks for a player. Look at what we did with Romanov. Traded it for a pick, used that pick and a later pick for Kirby Dach. That's how it works sometimes. So I feel like Kent has a plan. But Jesse, just before we end this off, I know we said we might not even make a goalie trade before the end of the season. I don't feel any urgency to make a defenseman trade. If you had to put your cards on the table, because I mean, I'll give you my answer as well. I think both of those moves are happening before the deadline. I think he's just trying to, keep all the options open without revealing too much. If you had to say, do you think that there might be a move on both of those fronts coming within the next few weeks?
Ken did say today that the plan is to have 2 goalies by the end of the season. The plan still is not to have 3 goalies by the end of the season, right? That was the plan. But of course, he's not going to do a bad trade either, right? So absolutely, I think with that being the plan, of course, Cayden Primeau playing so well, that's what makes this trade just so much more doable. I would say if he wasn't playing so well, yeah, probably a bigger of a chance if we're trying to keep on to Allen, right? Especially as maybe we're trying to get as many points as possible here, So I think because of the great play from all 3 of them, with Allen tonight, getting the W, now the Leafs are willing to offer 2 6th-round draft picks for him. His value is just going up all the time, right? So I do see that coming, but Kent, he's going to do it in the right way. And he did mention as well, just the picks that we have. Like, I think the plan is somewhat obvious if you just look at the assets that we have over the next couple of drafts. We've been stockpiling these picks, these prospects for a reason. You have to do something with them. Kent is going to cash in with them. We actually have no other choice to do so. It's just about making the right move when we really do so. And I feel like Kent is working on that plan as we speak.
The right move at the right time. It's happened all across sports. Maybe he can cash in on a contending team who has an up-and-coming young player that you can get. Like, I mean, I don't know how many of you watch basketball, but that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade between the Clippers, who were looking to contend with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and the Thunder. They got Paul George from the Thunder for Shai and a bunch of picks. Like, this kind of stuff can't happen, right? The Habs have now. I know that trade ended up working out more for the Thunder, but still. But, these kind of trades happen where a team with a lot of assets are willing to move them for a good player. So you never know what's going to happen. Super excited to see what Kent has. He's going to make a super offer at some point. It's going to be an exciting few years as Habs fans, and that is for certain. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 15,000. I mean, it's a long ways away. I know that, but I know you guys can help us reach it because we reached 10,000 this fast. Why not get to 15? I'm Josh Gosse, co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.